All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Todd Cochran, and you are listening to the Morning Tech Show. It's a Saturday morning early here in Honolulu. I have Rob Greenlee up on top. Let's do this like, what is that show or the Hollywood Squares? So we got Jeff, Rob on top, and we got Jeffrey Powers from geekazine.com on bottom. Good morning, guys. How are you?
Doing terrific.
Well,
Pretty good.
well, you know, here in Hawaii, everyone has solar hot water heaters, and they work good. I mean, they work fantastic about really about 10 and a half months out of the year, where I don't even have to turn on my hot water heater. I have enough hot water, even running three kids through, a wife that likes to take a Hollywood shower, and I do 2 showers a day. So usually there's enough, before we get up in the morning, there's enough residual water left over to take a nice hot shower, or at least a warm shower. Then in the evening, everyone gets a good hot one. And so I'm usually left with leftovers. So we've had rain here for the last 3 days. So this morning I get up, I'm get everything ready here, dealing with a little problem with Skype on the system. We'll talk about that in a second. But shortly after that, I said, "Oh, it's 6:40. I need to jump in the shower and went and jumped, turned the water on, and it ran, and it ran, and it ran, and it was as cold as ice." I said, "After
Oh
fighting
no.
a cold, I am not getting in this bad boy." So I ran to the garage and flipped the switch on, and it usually, if I give it a good 15 minutes, it's good. But I didn't have 15 minutes; I had 10. So at 10 minutes, I said, "Okay, here we go." I turned it on full hot, and it uh, it was tolerable. So what happened this morning? What delayed me is Skype had auto updated, and as I do every morning, I check to make sure the video feeds are working, and I get this message that you need to install or update DirectX on the little video screen, and I'm like, that's weird. So I did a quick a Google of Skype slash DirectX, and there's this huge long forum on the Skype board, and there's even a help page to help people fix this. Everything they said didn't help. So those Skypeosaurus, I had to, thank God I had not deleted a November release of Skype, and so I downgraded the 4.0 version, and we have video. I was freaking out, man. I'm gonna have to go. Usually going finding an old version of something isn't hard, but not when you've got 10 minutes, you know. And
True.
so anyway, there's video this morning, but Skype looks like is going to DirectX, using that to help render video and take away some of the the load on the computer. So smart move on their part. Don't know how
Hmm.
many people are going to have issues, but that's what's going on.
So does
So
that mean that they're going to possibly support
little
some HD video, you think?
I don't know. Maybe Rob, you're a little hot, so I don't know
Okay.
if you're right up on that
I
mic, but
can
yeah,
I can turn it down a little bit.
back you down. Um, I don't know. Maybe that's the case. So we'll see here where this goes. But you guys know, I don't know if you knew or not, I missed my show on Thursday. Well, I did six. I started it. I did 27 minutes. In 27 minutes, I coughed on people 10 times. And I don't have a little kill switch here to kill the mic when I'm coughing. And me hacking a lung up every 3 minutes was not my idea of fun. So I just basically stopped. I said, "All right, folks, they're watching me on Ustream." And there wasn't very many. There was a handful. I said, "I'm out of here. I'm not going to and is it make you suffer and feel like you're getting a disease." So I got a lot of stuff to talk about on tech, and I hope you guys have been watching the news. But I updated my Facebook page and was prompted to try the new Facebook layout. Have you seen? Have you updated your Facebook page? Have you guys seen what they've got planned for you here?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, I did it I think the next day, something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's up on the page, and I find it's kind of interesting how they randomly put pictures up. And I had to laugh because Joe Klein was the first picture. Joe Klein, me, and someone else from one of the podcast awards. And then imagine that a whole bunch of new media images, NBC stuff came up. And so far, I guess it's okay. I don't know what really the big difference is. It's just a little bit of a layout change. But for better or worse, that popped this week. And they haven't got seem to get very much negative feedback on it so far, unlike folks when Dig and those folks make changes. So, any thoughts on
I
the
don't think
update?
it's really that big of a change. I think the whole issue with the images up above. I mean, you can go in and add or delete them. I mean, not remove them entirely from your collection, but as far as what's visible up there, you can change that.
Yeah,
Uh, it's just the top level. That has the highlights of your work and if you went to college and where you live and that kind of stuff. I think it's an improvement. But
The one thing that
overall,
it
I didn't really think it was that big of a change, actually.
well, the one thing that it does is it makes sure that you don't have to click on anything. You don't have to go to any extra pages. Everything you want to see is right there, and there's they don't go through click through or anything like that. And you can stay on the page, and probably keep the page up and probably have lots long view times just on that page simply because people will keep that one page up.
Sure.
yeah.
No, that's true. That's your true homepage now, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Let's see if I can make this switch. I'm flying you guys in and out this morning. Well, anyway, that kind of popped this week, so I've had some good response for it. We've heard lots of news about Google. We heard lots of news about Apple. We've heard stuff on Microsoft this week. There seemed all three be doing very well on the mobile space. But what has really been driven to the back of the conversation is Palm. And there's a good article in the New York Times that actually popped this morning that said Palm is far from game over, says former chief. And I'll be honest with you. Let me bring that page up. Uh, do you know anybody buying any Palm phones or anything right now?
No, no.
I I think
There's not much going on with the WebOS right now.
they definitely have their loyal fan base for
Yeah.
sure, but it's definitely not. Um, I don't know. For a while there, they just seems like they were in disarray. I think they still are. So, have you got any love to Palm, Jeffrey?
Well, Palm is now HP, and they're going to do what they do. I mean, you talked last week about the HP servers going down, them taking those offline. Well,
Home servers, yeah.
this might be the next generation of web servers. The one thing about the HP home servers that it was a big deal for a lot of people is just the fact they have to deal with another computer. They
Right.
have to get an antivirus for another computer. They have to worry about hard drives for another computer. They have to worry about a memory for another computer. If they can get a device that has an operating system that they don't have to worry about all that stuff and have the security and then turn around and be able to use it, then they're going to buy that as opposed to a Windows home server that they've got to keep maintaining. Now, with that said, you take something like a Palm OS and you turn it into something that you can use it as a server. You use the web OS interface on your mobile phone on whatever device, and all of a sudden it becomes an interface. It becomes a part of your business, and I think that's the direction that HP is going to be going with the Palm OS software. Is they're going to put it into their printers, they're going to put it into their home servers, they're going to put it into their mobile devices where it's more HP driven than it is consumer mobile based.
Now,
Hmm.
I've been doing actually we've been working with Blackberry in a couple of projects as well. And under NDA, I can't really say what we're doing for them, but with and this isn't a new media space, I guess I can say that. But the question is, then for BlackBerry and for Palm, and I think Palm said that they're coming out with a tablet, and I don't have the full. I mean, yeah, excuse me, BlackBerry's coming out with a tablet, so I don't
Yep.
know what the. I haven't looked at the back end of that, or if that's Android, or what that's going to be driven on, or if it's going to be their own OS. So the question really then becomes is where does even BlackBerry fall out on this? Because BlackBerry's heavily been business thus far, and they've had another loyal group of audience members. So are they going to be able? It just seems kind of weird to me that they're coming out with a tablet.
Yeah, and didn't Android launch a new phone at Verizon that looks an awful lot like a BlackBerry
Oh
device
yeah, it looks
here,
just looks almost exactly
here this
like it.
past week too?
Yeah, if you look
I
at it
can't
from
I
a
can't
view.
remember the name of it, but it definitely I saw the advertising.
Yeah, it definitely looks almost the same. That's for sure. So yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll see where this heads over time. But it's when you see an article in the New York Times that says that Palm is far from over. Excuse me. There's two. Um, then it's almost like the death sentence. It's almost like maybe it is gonna happen. So only
Yeah,
time.
it seems like it's going to be pretty tough for the WebOS to come back unless it's really an alternative. I mean, a different type of deployment. I mean, like Jeff was saying, it really has to be something that's not just on a mobile phone. It's got to be on, kind of the next generation of devices, the slates, tablets, and maybe even an operating system of some sort, like like he was talking about. It really needs to I think a lot of the companies are starting to and need to look at one operating system across all these devices that has a different user experience, but is kind of consistent across the board. And I think that's what's happening. I think if you really back up and look at the 30,000 foot view on this stuff.
Now, of course, Google's been king of search for a while. Bing is making great inroads, and again, where's Yahoo? I'll be honest, I haven't used a Yahoo search product, and well, I'll tell you when I stopped using Yahoo search products. When they started charging, this is how many years ago is that? 10 years ago, when they started charging people to be listed in the Yahoo.com
Oh,
directory. Do you remember that? Like
Yeah.
they were charging like
it's
$200 or something like that
yeah, exactly, per submission.
per submission.
Yeah.
And I remember having I think this is now a Microsoft product. Remember when used to have to go through and submit our webs? Who's done that? No one's done that in years, but there was actually a product where you went through and it submitted sites and stuff to search engines, and how far
Yeah,
we've
it's like it
come.
was like 400 search engines for $10 or something like that, or
Yeah,
you can get software that will automatically submit your
right.
website to all these places. Yeah.
So here we've got Yahoo that, to me, what are they doing? Nothing exciting. And then, I used to bag on AOL so much because, I think I had, like some of those guys did, I had 1,000 AOL discs. Every time one would come in, I would just put it on a spool and laugh. And,
Yeah.
sometimes
I
it was taking up too much space in the house, and I threw it in the, yeah, I threw it in the trash, finally.
no no
So,
that'd be my coaster.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was saying. That's exactly what I use mine for too, is coasters.
so now in Reuters, and this is from very early in the week, AOL is saying that they may break up, then merge with Yahoo. And, I couldn't think of two better partners here for a recipe for disaster. You think about,
They both want to be content companies.
yeah, Rob, you're still just you're in me on the mic when I think
Okay.
when you get real out close to it. Yeah, they both want to be content companies, and I think AOL's done, a semi decent job. They've bought a number of companies, but let's be straight up here. AOL and Yahoo merging. First of all, when Microsoft made their play on Yahoo, I said, yeah, okay, they're gonna buy a piece of it, chop it up, and throw the rest of it away. And that didn't happen. And now AOL, I would just, if this comes true, I would, I'm sure there's gonna be odds set in Vegas for their potential failure. I'll take those odds all day long. You'll put 100 on failure, but
A lot
maybe.
of people are saying that it's just not going to happen, and I don't think it's going to happen either. I think the only way that it would happen is if somebody turned around and they actually purchased not only AOL but also Yahoo, and got that merger together, because it just doesn't make any other sense otherwise. I'm still surprised that Yahoo's around, and even though half of it's now with Microsoft, and it doesn't make any sense for Yahoo. Their business email, yes, but as a company for consumers, not much.
Well, they say they haven't made a formal offer, but they're contemplating it. So it's kind of interesting that they would actually say that publicly. But maybe that yes, Nebin on the chat said I've never used Yahoo search. Go up there and try it once. Type in yahoo.com and type in a few search terms, and the stuff ranks up not much different than what it does on Google. That's for sure. But just in more weird news of the day of companies that were used to bees. And people get upset when I say that, because I know a lot of people are hardcore Yahoo mail users, but I don't. At least when I send mail to Yahoo, it doesn't go in the bit bucket. Unlike, sorry, Rob, when I send email to Hotmail customers, it just goes into a black hole. It just disappears. It never comes. It never comes back bounced. It never makes it in the inbox of someone. We have more trouble getting through to Hotmail. They must have spam filters set so
Yeah.
high. But
That's true. Yeah.
anyway, okay. Expanding the cloud with DNS, introducing Amazon Route 53. I use Netica for my DNS server, DNS host, and we've had a couple issues with them. They've had 2 denial of service attacks over the last year, which took our sites offline because of them for about 3 or 4 hours each. Now we're running secondary DNS now. We've gotten a little smarter, and so when that happens again, hopefully we won't get taken offline. But I love the Amazon cloud products, but the problem I keep running into is it is not user friendly. If they would ever get this to the point where it was actually user friendly, where the average consumer could use some of these services, there'd be some exciting stuff to do experimenting with. Now I can do it. I can bring a server up. I can do some testing, and that's what primarily I've been using it for. But um, it looks like Amazon's looking to become all things hosting. They've announced as well this past week that you can now go from the max file of 5 terabytes in size. Now, was that the right size? No. The biggest file size you could store before, I think, was 5 gigs. And now you can store up to 5 terabytes in a single file. And I think that was the number. So, what do you think what do you think about this DNS system by Amazon?
I don't know. It's an interesting. It seems odd that they're moving in this direction. To be real frank with you, I mean, those guys are also linked up with the whole WikiLeaks thing. They were hosting, some of the WikiLeaks things and push them off the servers here recently, which I thought was interesting. That Amazon of all people was involved in doing this kind of stuff.
The only thing
I thought that they were an online retailer, not a web hosting platform. It seems like an odd kind of product for them to be diving into.
The only thing I can think of is that this must make them a heck of a lot of money. The margins must be so huge
Yeah, I can see that.
it just they have all these servers sitting around anyway, and when they need peak demand, for their online sales stuff. But half the time, probably most of those servers are just sitting there, kind of going ho hum. So if
Yeah.
you've got several warehouse full of servers or more, I guess it makes sense. But Yeah, I'm not gonna jump on this DNS stuff right away, but yeah, don't keep all of your cookies in one basket when it comes to DNS. Now, this is really old news, but Tumblr was down for about 24 hours. Have you guys ever used Tumblr?
Every
Yeah, I
now and
got
then.
an account over there, but I don't use it much.
Oh, you do have an account over there?
Yeah.
What is the they've had a tremendous growth. So, any idea what's the attraction? What makes that service so? And I just don't get it. It's another blogging
Yeah.
platform to me.
Well, honestly, there's really not that many people over there using it, and that's part of the reason why I don't. I, I got it. Yeah, I got invited to create an account by a friend of mine. So I just went over there and created one. I've honestly haven't been back.
But
So I don't really know that much about them actually.
well,
Just
they're moving and shaking.
yeah.
They've had some serious growth here over the last 6 months. Jeffrey, have you ever used them?
I used early on. I used it. It's really just the fact of we can set something up. You can say what you want, and we've got an iPhone app, and we've got something you don't have to worry about setting up a web space for,
Right.
and all that other stuff. It's no different than Blogspot. It's no different than Ning. It's no different than any of these other service providers. They just do it for blogs.
Yeah. So I guess speaking of blogs, I saw a report where do I have it listed here talking about automatic, and this just shocked me. And the only thing I couldn't get out of the article, let's see, do I have it listed here? Boy, oh boy, I hope I do. I don't think so. Yes, here it is. This is a headline out of TechCrunch, December 9th. Automatic hits 300 million unique visitors, roughly $10 million in revenue. You've got the biggest blogging platform in the world, and they only have revenues of $10 million? I don't get it.
It's all advertising only. Right.
Yeah, because they make the service free. How are they, they got to have more costs than that in server cost and bandwidth, and I was flabbergasted. Roughly 10 million in revenue. Doesn't that just kind of like, if that's 10 million a month, that's one thing. But it's, to me, the statement is like 10 million a year. How can you run a company that big at $10 million in revenue a year? I guess lots of venture capital, yeah?
Well, let's really look at how big is that company. Are they? I mean, if they just have a handful of employees, I mean, it's a
74.
little bit less than $1 million a month.
Yeah, they have 74 people.
74. Okay.
And they're making a
That
million.
does seem a little. That does seem a little heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our goal is not to be acquired. And I guess they're just burning cash. So that doesn't bode well. You look at what happened with Mobile Type and Six Apart. They got bought for, a fire sale. And
Yeah.
at what point? At what point do these companies say, "Hey, customers, you're using WordPress.com. I need $5 a month." Um, and there's obviously a difference between WordPress.com and WordPress.org. And they've been hammering developers who essentially don't follow the GPL guidelines that they. I think that's what it is. It's for the copyright stuff,
Hmm.
and especially template makers. So I was just pretty flabbergasted to see this, and it does not bode well. I look at my small company, I look at the revenue that we do, and they're only doing 10 million. I'm like, they're not so big,
No.
but they got 74 people. Yeah, they're 7 times our size. That just to me just shocks me. It really, really does. But anyway, what is up with all these companies? I guess it's still that mantra, looking for the big cash out, and it's and I guess they made this deal with Microsoft recently. WordPress did. I don't know if they got any money out of that, where they moved all those people over onto WordPress.com. So maybe that got them some cash. I don't know, but it's
Well,
sure.
it isn't
It
WordPress is nonprofit, isn't it?
Don't Well, see, there's WordPress.org and there's WordPress.com.
Yeah.
So, that's where the confusion is, they make great, they keep updating WordPress, and obviously that's what's driving millions of sites. But, there's
Yeah.
people that go over and get the generic WordPress.com, uh, account and really don't. It's like Tumblr. You don't have to have any skill sets. You just sign up for the account and you configure it and you're good. So it's pretty bizarre to me. It really, really is. All right, let me see what else.
Speaking
Go ahead.
speaking of which, did you hear on the WordPress.org site? Did you know that they've come out with a HTML5 ready theme for WordPress?
I didn't, but it's
No,
not
I
that.
didn't hear about that.
It's not
It's
that.
over on I read it over on Mashable last night. They call it Toolbox,
Huh.
and it's a theme that actually has a whole bunch of HTML5 functionality to it.
Well, that's cool. And
Hmm.
I'm sure that all those templates will be it. Well, people are just going to go repurpose them here real quickly, um, which would be smart for them. Now, one thing that we're doing is that PowerPress 2.0, when it comes out, is going to give, and it's actually Angelo's working in on it heavily now. So I've given him a deadline. I don't know if he's going to be able to make it or not because we're adding a whole bunch. I mean, it'll be a major announcement by us when we announce because I can't say it yet. We're doing something unique. It's going to help the new media space a lot, and it will definitely cause people to raise their eyebrows a little bit. But when PowerPress 2.0 does come out, it will have a be fully HTML5. It'll have a player built in. We may even people have been begging us to support the new Flowplayer, and the new Flowplayer is actually you have to have a license for Flowplayer. So the new Flowplayer to get rid of that little hash at the bottom of the screen that they overlay if you don't pay for it. But so I've asked Angelo to try to integrate the new Flowplayer as well. So that's an option. So if people have a license, they can put their license in. That's not an inexpensive license per se either, and it's not a necessarily. It's a great plugin. I mean, it's a great player, but the problem is they make their money in helping people make custom players, and we're trying to at least make it a little easier for people to configure it. That's not the big announcement, but that would be part of it. But anyway, so Angelo's working on PowerPress 2.0, so we're HTML5, completely HTML5 compliant for all the shows. And that's something that Jeffrey we have to consider for CES, and something we'll probably talk about during our meeting today.
Yeah.
Is we don't have to use Blip's player. We could use something else, and as long as we put everything up in M4V, we'll be good. Now the challenge is there's a lot of older IE users that might be impacted. So that's where probably we'll still have to continue to use maybe we'll use Blip one more year here, but I don't know. It's one of those challenging things. So Rob, from your perspective, how much do you hear very much talk internally, or I probably can't say, but where do you think HTML5 is going?
Oh, I think it's going to be widely adopted. I think, I mean, all the browsers are supporting it, so I don't see any reason why we're not going to see widespread adoption of HTML5. I mean, Apple is pushing it.
Well, I don't
As
think there's
far as I know, it's going to be widely supported on the Microsoft platforms.
except the iPad. Well, actually, it is on the iPad. The Flash. Duh,
Yeah.
I'm being dumb here. So so the
So yeah, I think it's a big thing.
so Jeffrey, from your standpoint on what's the reaction been so far from on the Mashable side about this new plugin or this new template?
Um, from what I glanced through it last night, let me pull it up really quick. Um, it's so far they just outlined what it was and how you can use it, how you can get it.
Okay, so
So
nothing major, just that it's there and it's available as a template.
yeah, it says the article says that it's using HTML5 elements like article, header, and nav, so you can describe your content better. They have a couple dummy sites out there that you can test it out and see if the WordPress theme is for you.
Huh. I want to shift topics here real quick, and this is more media related. There's an article over on. Now I'm sneezing. I'm coughing in your ear and I'm sneezing on you. There's an article over on Business Insider, and this kind of relates to a conversation I had with someone earlier in the week. It says Facebook is PBS, and that's why the big ad dollars aren't shifting online. See, at the Ignition conference last week, Jack Wallachak, chief of research for Turner Network, said Facebook's audience is not that big when you put it in context of a TV audience. He says CBS's average audience is 5 times the size of Facebook. If Facebook were a TV network, it would be PBS, and that's why ad dollars have yet to truly flow from TV to the web. Now, obviously, people are pretty upset about his statements. And, but, if you look at average time people are spending on Facebook, I don't know about you, but, I think this is a pretty bold statement. I think it's more, I don't know if this is more posturing, but it did bring up, in the context of a conversation I had with a media buyer this week. I asked the media buyer who's worked both on the digital side and worked on radio side. I asked this individual what she sees happening from clients when they're looking to do new media buys. And the thing that she's finding is that the radio guys think that new media fits in digital, and the digital folks thinks that new media fits in radio. They think that this model that we're doing right here, many of the digital buyers think the advertising belongs to radio versus digital. And of course, there's this apparently, from what she says, she's continuing to see confusion on who should own the space, and maybe that's caused spending dollars not to be as big as they should be. Because, she basically says when I do a digital buy with you, to me, it's just like a radio buy. I know you're going to deliver me X number of views or downloads or listens. And when I used to buy radio based upon, market share and all that, I would have a general idea as well what they were going to deliver me in ears and eyeballs as well. So with this comment about, how I'm tying this back to this comment by this dude from Time Warner, and it is irrelevant of the audience size. Do you think that what do you think the reasons why that there hasn't been more money shifting to, really from the, not just us, but in the entire digital space?
Well, first of all, I'm trying to wrap my brain around this whole Facebook is PBS thing.
Well,
It's like
he
it's
made
like
that was his analogy, obviously.
yeah, I know, but it's like saying that a 10 speed is not a car. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me. And the one thing that's really funny is I'm looking at this article over on SanFranciscoGate.com where they're talking about it, and right to the right of everything is a little button that you can press to share this on Facebook. I think that's the key right there, is the fact that a lot of these, you have all these websites that have, hey, I want you to share your information on Facebook, and then you hit that button and you're sharing that information. You're sending that data to Facebook, but you're not going to Facebook to look at that data. On the other hand, then you go to check your data and you see everybody that's bringing all their stuff in. That's when you start seeing all that information that somebody's looking at the SanFranciscoGate.com on an article dealing with Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook. So to put that in perspective, I wouldn't have even said PBS. That just doesn't make any sense to me. The audience is, if anything, it's a print audience that it's taking away from, and a social audience. So if you would make any type of claim, I would say Facebook is like Applebee's as opposed to a PBS, because in all reality, Facebook is taking away the social interaction from the bars, from the restaurants, and putting it at home. So that would make more sense to me.
Now, the just so to I'm going to play devil's advocate here. He says that people are watching 32 hours per week of TV versus 20 minutes per week per person online. I think people are spending a lot more than 20 minutes per week on Facebook.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that.
And I
and I think what he's talking about when he talks about PBS, I think is more his audience size.
Right.
And the whole aspect. I mean, if you look at how many users of Facebook are using Facebook in the U.S. versus worldwide, right? So if Facebook has 500 million users today, I would say probably half of that is probably in the U.S. So 250 million. If you look at all of the TV networks that are out there, I don't know what the percentages of people that watch network TV, but it's got to be probably a larger number than that. So that's probably what he's talking about. But it's still I would think that Facebook in the U.S. is bigger than PBS, so I'm not sure I'd follow his point.
Yeah, me too. But, and I guess, too, when it comes back to ad dollars, I think Facebook is getting a fair amount of ad dollars. You go to their website and you see ads. Of course, they're not in your face like you go to many websites and it pops up half the page. But, I guess with supposedly the future being digital, these folks are scared. But at the same point, they're still, we've talked about this before, Rob. You look at the cost of a one Super Bowl ad by one company could fuel the entire podcasting advertising space for a year.
True. Yeah, and I think that shift in spending is moving towards the internet. This has been going on for a good decade now, where companies have been building in more budgets into advertising online, and it's been gradually getting larger and larger and larger. The problem is, I think really, Todd, what you're talking about here is it's just not happening fast enough.
Yeah, and another thing, go ahead.
Yeah, and I wonder if the reason for that is the complexity and the lack of understanding of the medium has been even slower, I think, to change. And people, are thinking that maybe it's not as effective as other areas. I rather challenge that. I think it's probably, in some regards, it's more effective because for the simple reason is that it's trackable. But you also have to realize a lot of people in the advertising space are scared of that. They don't necessarily want to put all their eggs into that basket, because then they can be more held accountable for actual action. I mean, most of advertising and marketing in the past has been very loose,
confetti,
not a lot of hard numbers.
You're right.
Well, I think the biggest problem is just the one word: consistency. There is nothing consistent about the internet right now. There's people trying to make consistency going. I mean, if you look at the Revision 3 properties, if you look at the Twit properties, they're building a consistency there for an advertising model to come through. But if you go up to blip.tv and you look at the featured section, for instance, you would see one week you would see a show that would be like a minute long, and then the next week you would see a completely different set of shows. There's no consistency to that. And if I'm an advertiser, and I'm not gonna be an advertiser putting my money on a roulette wheel. I'm gonna be an advertiser putting on tried and true situation. So tried and true is the Super Bowl. Tried and true is a $2 million ad during the Super Bowl whether the Super Bowl is a winning game or a flop completely, I know my commercial is going to be seen.
Yep. And also,
Mhm.
too, there's a complexity issue where the media buyers think that it's too complex. It doesn't fit into their, they can go out and buy banners. They can go out and buy radio spots. They can go out and buy TV spots.
Mhm.
Generally, they do these one-offs, and it's just a single. It's really a very simple line in their software. But when you
Mhm.
tell them, oh, you can have banners, yes, you can have text links on the website, yes, you can have spots, whether they're produced or host endorsed in your show, all of a sudden they're like, huh? You get three,
Yeah.
four options. So we've tried to help dumb it down a little bit and just basically try, I think we're having a little bit more success in keeping it focused
Yeah.
in the content. And once we get in there and able to say, okay, all right, now we've done in the content. Did you know I can give you banners too? Then it's not so hard for them to understand that. But it's
Yeah.
it's an
Yeah.
interesting
I
development.
totally agree. It's the whole online space has made things so complicated on the
Yeah,
advertising and
yeah,
marketing side. I mean, if you look at a lot of the kind of leading marketers out there now, they have to be so versed in so many
yep,
areas, from cable television to all these different mediums that are out there now. A marketing director has a very complex job of trying to develop a marketing plan that covers all the bases, and oftentimes they take the easy road and just pick those top 4 or 5 or 6 that are going to what they perceive to be the big hitters, and they're not going to experiment a lot because that's risky for them.
and generally media buyers are lazy. They fill out their
Well,
they
that's part of it, right? They only
yeah
have so much bandwidth in their brain, right, to
yeah.
comprehend these concepts.
And also, you get a guy that's fresh out of college. He gets a job at a company that's a media company. That's his first. That's a low entry job. That's what you do when you're out of college, and you're given a 2 or 3 clients, and you're given the old files of the individual that was in that position for the past 10, 12 months. Say, okay, just go ahead and, this is where you start. And he's new and he just duplicates what that person did and he gets by and he gets a little experience and he goes on to the next job. And really what it does is their industry is upside down. I think in all honesty, in large part, I know not in our deals because I'm heavily involved with the buyers, but I think in most circumstances, I think most companies that are spending advertising dollars are probably getting screwed, and they don't even really know it.
Yeah.
How comfortable would you be as a business owner to hand over 150, 200, $300,000 to a media company and have a 20-year-old or 22, 23-year-old managing that cash to spend to drive customers to your website? Would that not make you a little bit leery? But yet, that's how the entire space works. Well, anyway, I've digressed here so far to the right that let's get back. We can get you guys back on me on track.
Actually, Todd,
Yeah,
before we continue, I wanted to show you what I'm wearing for my new shirt. Can I do that?
sure. Don't touch my. Let me swap that out. Hang on.
Oh, it's the big reveal. What's this?
Don't touch my
That's
junk.
my junk. That's good.
Now,
Yes,
are you gonna go when you go out to Vegas? You're gonna wear that through a TSA?
actually, this weekend, next week, I'm actually going down to Austin, Texas, and I'll probably be wearing the shirt. Going down
Funny.
they're calling it Dell OEM Day, and we're going down. We're going to check out a whole bunch of OEM stuff.
Cool. See if we can find a sponsor down there.
Yes.
Hey, this next article, I just got to bring this screen up because this is just way too cool. Have you heard about this? These copyright trolls, Right Haven? They're suing for control of the Drudge Report domain. These guys are
Uh,
horrible. What they do is if you post anything Well, what they do is they go to a news firm and they say, "Oh, we see that your article's been republished on a lot of sites out on the web. We would like to buy the copyright for this article." So they pay for the article, they buy the copyright control on it. Then what they do is they go out to those sites and they sue them for copyright infringement. And they've gotten beat up in court recently for some of their tactics, but now they've decided to really throw the gauntlet out, and they're going to go after the Drudge Report for copyright infringement for putting a picture with attribution up on on his website. So isn't this don't you, this is a modern ambulance chaser, I think.
Yeah.
Well, I just found out this week that if you even do a screenshot of a website, like let's say I did a review on a website or a product or something like that, any screenshots that I do from the website, from the mobile site or anything like, I actually have to go to the content creator and get permission to use those screenshots.
Right.
I don't have fair use on them.
Well, you would if you're doing like a product review or a review of the site, and you're using that screenshot in the context
like
of the
a
article.
news coverage kind of thing. I think you're pretty safe.
That might be the case, but I just did an article for another website, and they came back and they said we can't publish this until you get the permission from the website to actually get the to use the screenshots.
That's interesting.
Interesting.
So.
Yeah.
It's there's a lot of fair use issues when it comes to the web, and the bottom line is, if news is news, and yeah, I can't be there for that. I need to take something from what the websites are saying and make my own extrapolation from it. I shouldn't have to be in trouble, especially since I'm sending marketing information to them, since I'm sending people their way as well. So.
Well, I think, Jeffrey, the challenge comes in is if you're doing I think, it depends on at least my policy is at Geek News Central is if you do a product review and you take an image from their website, as long as you're linking back to their website and the context of the article is about their product and you're doing a independent review, I have no issue with an image going. I've never been asked to take an image down in that context. Now, if you're just using an image and there's no contextual reason to use it, in other words, it's not part of the story, it sounds like they're a little heavy-handed and they're worried about getting whacked is what it sounds like. But this Righthaven company, they're just basically going out and they're just being trolls. It's like these patent trolls and these companies that are now buying rights to movies to go out and fight for the right holders of the movies. It's just this seems to be the business to be in if you're a law firm these days.
Well, I guess the truth of the matter is you can go after anybody for anything. It's
right.
The person that's being served is the one that has to defend themselves.
Yep.
It could be for anything. Oh, and Todd, I also saw something really interesting that happened, as we all kind of get sucked up into this Facebook and social media world, is that the New York Times, I guess, basically made the decision that they were going to totally eliminate a social media manager for their website.
Yeah, I actually have that somewhere here in my stack.
Yeah. And
now, what was
really,
go ahead and fill me in. I didn't read the article.
Yeah, what's really interesting about this, and I think I think we might be seeing more of this in the future, is I think people are starting to realize that with social media, you have to basically make that strategy a part of your whole organization, right? See, I think up to this point, a lot of companies have thought of it as like social media is like this separate kind of PR division, within the company that has its own head and its own people and stuff like that. Though I feel that there probably still needs to be some of that. But what the New York Times has done is they've shifted that responsibility over to all their reporters to do their own social media for their own articles, and they feel like that could be a more effective strategy, and not have it come from a social media team per se.
I disagree on that completely. I think
But,
the New York Times is doing it all wrong.
but no, here's what they're saying. They're saying, Jeffrey, just understand what they're saying. The move is part of the Times' efforts to fully integrate its print and digital operations. It is
Yep.
acknowledgement that the social media needs to be and already is a shared responsibility. It says social media can't belong to one person. It needs to be, this is what's on their website. It needs to be part of everyone's job. It has to be integrated into the existing editorial process and production process. I'm convinced that's the only way we're going to crack the engagement nut. So in other words, what they're going to do is that they are going to start making uh, what this really is an admission of is that they're no longer going to be reporters, they're going to be bloggers. And the delta is on a reporter, you're supposed to leave your opinion and attitude at the door and only report the facts, whereas a blogger is already for years been not leaving his attitude or opinion at the door. And you just essentially, what you have done is you've made the entire staff of the New York Times editorial. They all have an editorial page for every article that they punch out. That's the way I read this.
Well, yeah,
Well,
I think
and
it's
I agree.
more specific to their strategy, across the board. And this is something that's I think is really important to consider when you're doing a social media strategy, in a company or in an organization, is that no one person in that organization can be the voice in social media platforms. It needs to be every employee and every person in the company needs to take a certain level of responsibility for sharing it to their following, right? And and I think that's what's really fundamentally going on here is that each of the reporter has umpteen thousands of people that follow what they write every week, right? Or they write articles, and it's up to that reporter to share that on Facebook and to share that on their own personal Facebook or on the New York Times Facebook page, and do it themselves. So they're part of the sharing and spreading the news across their social network as well. So, I mean, really, I think that's fundamentally what I've been doing at Zune since I've been there.
Right.
Is that I've been a kind of a social media kind of person for the company for a couple of years now too. And I just feel that everybody in an organization now, different people have different abilities to do this than others. But everybody needs to do as much as they can to help drive the overall initiatives of the organization that they work in these social media platforms.
Jeffrey,
I
what were you going to
totally
say?
I totally agree on that, and everybody should be contributing to this pie. But
Yeah.
the problem is that they understand only the face value of social networking. It not having a manager to social networking is like not having a manager to a restaurant staff. You need to have that person that says, we have way too many bartenders, we have way too many wait staff for the needs. I think a couple people need to go. I need to call this person in because this person called in sick. It's the same thing with social media. Now I'll put it this way: for social media, for like let's say a reporter using social media, it would be just as viable as if they went up on a chalkboard and just wrote down their social media stuff on the chalkboard. I'll give you a case in point here, and this deals with Facebook. A lot of people will post like their events and stuff like that on Facebook, but they won't utilize it to the best of the ability. Case in point, there's the ability to actually take those events and link them to other pages. Like for instance, let's say last night with my band, we played a show over at a local venue. I put on Facebook, I said, hey, we're playing. I put a link to our band's Facebook page to that. I put a link to the venue's Facebook page to that, and I said, "Hey, we're playing tonight at this place with this." And all of a sudden, not only is my post on my page, but it's also on the band's page. It's also on the venue's page. These are the things that the average Facebook person might have a small grasp on, but not a big grasp. When I set up a Facebook page for a local establishment that I work with, they we the first thing we did was we became friends with every single alcohol, every single item that was in that establishment. You know, if the chairs had a brand name, we looked to see if they had a Facebook page, and then we liked that Facebook page. So if there was ever a situation where it's like where we had to put up a post, hey, come sit on our stools, we can actually give a specific brand stool. Now, the marketing manager would have that extra knowledge. They would have that knowledge of not only Facebook, but of Twitter, of Tumblr, of all these other social networks that are popping up, all these other third-party networks that are popping up. So when you have Joe Schmo that's writing an article, he writes an article, he puts it up on his Twitter, puts it up on his Facebook, but then it's the social manager that can take that information and replicate it onto 300 different outlets and really push the article as opposed to nothing, as opposed to just one place putting it up on the chalkboard.
But when you're dealing with a company the size of the New York Times, there could be, oops, let me switch, wrong switch. When you're dealing with a company like the New York Times, you're dealing with a big company that, if they started all of a sudden coming to my website and well, I guess they could. I don't know. What it is going to be an interesting new strategy, I guess, for a better word, on
Well,
what they're
that
going to do.
and as far as what this article said is that for the last 3-4 years, this kind of social media manager, like we talked about, has been training the whole organization. I mean, it's really very much like this whole social media consultant kind of thing, where there's been this really strong effort to establish social media organizations within all these companies. And what this social media manager essentially oftentimes does is they're in a consultant role to other people in the organization to share and evangelize what the social media strategy is and how to do it and stuff. And what they've said is that they've spent a lot of their time training people on how to do it. And so, so what they're saying now is that they just want to kind of shift it over to shift some of the responsibility. So I guess there's still going to be kind of a focal point in the organization for the social media strategy. So there is still going to be a go-to person. It's just not a separate person. It's going to be a person that's like part of PR or something like that. That will be kind of a go-to person that will continue to train people on how to do this, but it's going to be a shared responsibility across the whole organization. And I think it could be a big opportunity for them to reach more people that way as well.
Right.
We saw this about 10, 15 years ago. And that's when everybody just started using computers, when they started using Office products. How many? Yeah. This is almost exactly the same situation. You need somebody to train them how to use social networking, just like you needed to train them how to use Microsoft Word 10, 15 years ago.
Exactly. That's true.
I'm multitasking here, guys. Someone's asking. We gotta have a meeting, another online meeting, another hour with the guys going to CES, and everyone says, "I don't remember the GoToMeeting session data. Can you send that out?" So let me copy and paste that in here so that everyone. Yeah, there we go. Let me go ahead and punch send. All right, we good. It's interesting where it's going, but the people in their marketing departments need to start taking some lessons too, because if if they're going to get the reporters online with the New York Times, then media companies need to, I guess I don't want to beat a dead horse, but continually I'm getting now these emails from social media managers, and that's what's in their title, from press firms that basically tell me, Todd, we got a great product. We're doing this, and they continue trying to pawn me off $5 products that they want me to write up and talk about on my website, and want me to run these elaborate contests and stuff. I actually had a um, person that was a social media manager who is a really at a PR company, which is really a PR person in disguise, who sent me an email asking me to basically give away a bunch of product that was had a total value of like $10. She wanted me to reship it, um, and go to this elaborate length of doing something for them. And I'm like, no, pay someone to do that. Go out and do a marketing campaign and use some real money to do that. I included in my, and I don't know if we've talked about it in this show before. And if we have, I apologize. But in our newsletter that we sent out yesterday from Raw Voice, I said, as you look ahead to 2011, a couple of suggestions, and this was my write up. He says, the next time a vendor asks you to review a product or service in return for getting a free product, please consider that what you're trading for. If the vendor is offering you a car, hey, go for it. But way too many content creators are selling their souls for the price of a cup of coffee. Please do not underestimate the value of your audience. Many companies think bloggers, podcasters, etc., can be bought off with a little product versus treating us like traditional media, which charges them for access to their audiences. Product is cool, but product does not make your house payment. So, in this whole social media thing, beyond what the New York Times is doing, extends to the marketing departments of companies that are out there, and they're driving me crazy. They really are.
I'm going to take it one step further, and this is what I think is going to happen in 5 years. You're going to do the exact same thing. Social media company is going to come up and say, "Hey, I want you to give away X product here, and I want you to do it on your website. I want you to do it on your Facebook. I want you to do it on your Twitter." And then you do it, and it's not really the price of coffee. You're actually buying them the cup of coffee, is what you're doing. And in return, what you'll get is a deactivation notice from Twitter, a deactivation notice from Facebook saying that you're pushing advertising that's not approved by our systems. So we're going to turn off your social networks. We're going to turn off your link to the world simply because of the fact that you're selling yourself and giving them a cup of coffee to boot.
I don't know about that. What do you think, Rob?
Yeah. Well, Todd, you probably remember this is probably a couple of years ago when the big craze was is that people were going to make money off of selling the ability to just make a Twitter post. It's like
Right.
if you had like following of like 20,000 people or more, you could make $100,000 a year just by making a daily ad post to your Twitter feed.
Right.
Whatever happened to that? Is that
I think
actually happening?
some people still get paid to. I get paid to tweet offers 2 or 3 times a week, and the going rate's about $12. And
Per was
yeah,
that per post? Is that what it is?
yeah, it's basically per post, and they'll have you do 3 or 4 posts in a month. But if you think about that, $12. I have 5,000 followers, so that's an effective CPM of $3.
Mm-hmm.
So sorry.
You're not going to get rich on that. That's for sure.
No, you're not going to get rich on that at all. But for many people, 4, 5, $12 a month post, that it's $50, and
Yeah.
they've had pretty high click through rates on that stuff. So the click through rate on it is better than banner ads by maybe 10 times. So for the PR people, it's for the media buyers, it's a great deal. Managing it is a challenge. Some companies now are asking you to give them access to your actual Twitter account, and they will do the post on your behalf and make it look like you sent it.
Oh,
So that,
I
yeah,
think I like that.
I don't think I like that either.
Mm.
But that's there's trolls out there that are doing that, and I don't know. I just at this point I'm not willing to, at this point anymore. Uh, you want access to the audience, then you pay for that access.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the wrong way. And I'll do, I'm not going to stop doing giveaways and that type of stuff, but um, I don't know. I just have to, look at each thing as it comes through. Well,
Yeah.
let's go ahead and move on here. There's a good article. Let's talk about the Chrome laptop, the CR48. And Engadget did a huge review of this thing. Looks interesting. They say it's a good first try. It's got some work to be done. I applied to try to get a free one to see if I can get one delivered. They're supposedly giving away 60,000 of these, and it looks to me like the complete idiot's laptop is what it looks like to me. It looks like you can't screw this thing up at all. It's all web based, so I'm getting a little feedback. Oh, someone playing music?
Yeah, I did really
Oh,
quick.
that's
Sorry.
okay.
It's my fault.
What have you had a chance to read up on this thing? What do you guys think about the new Chrome CR48, the first addition to this?
Well, I think it's really a test platform at this point. But it's really interesting what they're doing here, and it really makes you wonder about a competing platform like this getting traction at some point in the future. I mean, I can't help but think about Android and what happened there. It took them a couple of years to get it ramped up, but it started to gain some usage over time. So we shall see. It's but the actual deployment of this particular laptop, from what I've seen, is not entirely functional. It doesn't play Flash. It doesn't. I mean, there's a lot of things that it's missing, but it's interesting to see this.
Someone said they got one in the chat. They got it for Nebman got one for free. So I guess I'm not on Google's A list, I guess. So one hasn't showed up here yet, and but says it boots up in 12 seconds. It's got an Intel Atom 1.6 in it, 16 gig SSD inside. Jeffrey, have you had a chance to look at this at all?
I saw a little bit of it online. I don't have one myself, of course, but so far, what I've been reading on the reviews, just like Rob said, there were a couple problems. Some people had some issues with doing simple functionality, but that's going to get fixed in the next month.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens with this and where it goes. I think they obviously they're gunning for Microsoft and they're gunning for Apple. I don't know how this is going to ultimately work out. I still find I use a lot of apps on my computer, but I will say that I use a lot less than I used to. I use a lot more stuff online now than anywhere else. So time will tell on how this ultimately works out.
Yeah. Well, it's the apps in the cloud kind of concept. It's the data in the cloud is the future, and it's kind of interesting to actually see a product like this. I mean, these type of tools or PCs or whatever you want to call them has been the dream for, gosh, it's been 10 years. This network computer type of concept, and it's starting to happen. It's like, there was companies that started up, but I remember talking about them many times on my old my old radio show about network computers, and that was the future, and it never happened. But I think the big thing that was holding it back was broadband. Once we get fast enough broadband, where the apps and the applications don't necessarily have to. I mean, huge applications don't necessarily have to live on your laptop or your computer local. The whole thing changes, and we'll have to see how it pans out.
Now, in more exciting news, YouTube has raised the upload length for some user now exceeds 15 minutes. So some people are going to be able to upload full-length videos now with their standard account. This is big. It's been a long time coming.
But
It'll
from
be
what I
nice to
understand, it's only for a select few kind of approved users at this point.
It'll be nice to actually see my full show on YouTube.
What'd you say, Jeffrey?
said it'd just be nice to actually be able to have the full show, my weekly podcast, actually be accepted up on YouTube.
Did you try it yet?
I've submitted, but I haven't seen anything, any email yet.
Oh, do you have to actually apply to get the update?
I don't know. I don't know. I've submitted the videos to YouTube.
Oh, I see.
I'll continue to do that on a weekly basis until it gets approved. But um, no, yeah, I haven't seen an actual full length show up. I'm assuming that's when I'll know.
Yeah, so they say, I had some people say that they were able to do it right away. So starting today, we'll be allowing, selected users with a history of complying with YouTube community guidelines and our copyright
Yeah.
rules to upload videos that are longer than 15 minutes. So it must be, um, I was lucky. I got a director's account early on, so I haven't had that issue from the beginning. And really, my YouTube views are hardly anything. So as compared to the overall download rate the show gets via the website. But they looks like to me they're making this move now because probably they're starting to see people. Yeah, I'm sure it's probably their number one request to go longer than 15 minutes. And I'm also thinking, I wonder if they're getting ready to start offering up the live stuff more readily to more people. That's the thing everyone's been waiting on is the ability to, the Ustream, live stream, and Justin.tv competitor. You want to see this online streaming stuff explode. People that have never done it before will be, if YouTube ever opens that up, watch out. You'll have a whole new generation of live streamers that probably don't even know it exists now because they've been so focused on just uploading videos.
So Todd, do you really think that live streaming is going to garner that big of an audience?
I think it's going to be huge. I think
So?
I think there's going to be some 20-year-old kids that are going to get 10 of their buddies together, and they're going to be doing, who knows? I just think it will be. I just can't imagine. I feel
Yeah,
people are going to be.
what's changed with the web and the internet that would give us the clue that live streaming is going to garner a huge audience? I mean, we've kind of been through this in the past, and I mean, what's changed as far as you're seeing out there that would give you the indication that live streaming is going to garner, larger audiences?
Well, I think you see the tools are getting better to run multiple cameras. Okay. It's within reach financially of people to be able to do it. They can go out and buy, just go on eBay and buy, 5 FireWire-enabled webcams. And,
I'm not talking about the content producer side. I'm talking about the audience side.
Oh, the audience side? Well, what you're seeing with young people is that there was a survey done recently. They would much rather have a high-end laptop than a 50-inch television. What they consider television is different. Television to them is Hulu, what they can access on Netflix. So this, my kids, I see them more and more stuck to the screen instead of watching what we're watching on the big screen. So I think it's just a generational thing. And plus their excitement for the media, I think it's
going to be fewer people downloading over time and more people doing live streams.
Well, the thing about live stream is that it's that so long as the social part stays there where there's this instant back and forth. Now, like right now, I'm reading what the guys are saying in the chat room. And if we were recording this and then putting this up later, I would not be able to have this interaction. So obviously we're a small group here doing this. But, when you're talking about something that's big and you've got, 5,000 people on the stream, the interaction that supposedly the Google TV was supposed to bring to the marketplace by being able to chat online, which, may at someday be saved, or that dream may be realized. I think it's going to be through streaming networks. My goal is as soon as Google releases their Google TV API is to make sure that the tech podcast guys have all got their schedules in order, and we're able to funnel that data into a single viewing point so people can come in and watch content as it's made up and it isn't available. And then, you build that audience size over time, and you could do that for any community. I was talking with a gentleman yesterday who does a lot of water type activities, and he says, "Man, we're shooting video, we're doing stuff." I said, "This would be great live." So there's all this stuff out there that people are doing that could attract an audience. I think it'll be big, and I think YouTube is gonna, maybe they don't think it's quite time yet. Maybe that's why they haven't released everything, or the infrastructure needs to be built out. But the YouTube generation is not following so much Ustream and live stream. But I do think that if YouTube opened up live streaming, that would just make all these folks go,
Huh.
da da. Oh,
Yeah.
it's almost like they have to be prompted by a product release.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, it'll be
Where do you,
see how that happens. I think that it's probably in the bigger picture things, I think it's a good thing. It's just the history is that this kind of on-demand time shifting thing is what's dominated, and I just wonder it's still going to be a combination. I think.
Yeah, I think so too. Now,
Yeah.
what's really interesting is talking about cord cutters. I have we've been talking about cord cutting for a year, 2 years,
Yeah.
3 years,
Yeah.
and I was at a luncheon yesterday, and 5 of the 11 people at the table had cut the cord, and so I asked why. I wanted to. These were guys my age, and so I said to him, these are not the people that are cutting cords. These are people that have incomes, have lots of discretionary spending, can afford the NFL ticket. They're all, they're not the type that would cut the cord. I'm like, why'd you cut the cord? And he says, well, quite frankly, I'm saving $150 a month. My wife is able to watch what she wants to watch through a variety of channels. We've given up some of the reality TV stuff,
Mm.
but we've been able to, that's $150 back in my pocket, and we can subscribe to a number of services that isn't even that expensive, and I can watch stuff online. And he says, the only thing I can't get, and he was complaining, was that you can get NBA, you can get NHL, you can get the Major League Baseball all online by paying for a package. But the only one he couldn't get was NFL. So he says, for football games, he says, I'm going down to a local sports bar and watching the games there. He says that's really the only thing I can't get. And so I was blown away, and across the board. And for them, they all had jobs. It's not like it was a financial reason. They're just pissed off of paying $150 to the cable provider every month.
What's going to be really funny is going to be the day, and it's kind of going back to this whole PBS Facebook thing. It's going to be the day that the NFL decides that they don't want to have terrestrial TV broadcasting their games anymore. And the day that they'll say, okay, everything that you want to watch football-wise through the NFL will be through an NFL-approved network, whether it be their cable station or their application on a Roku, Boxy, whatever. But it will not be on ABC and NBC or anything like that. And then we'll see a major shift simply because of the fact that people can get their content from these boxes rather than from the terrestrial TV stations.
I think it's a wholly different issue, though. I think that for NFL, the networks pay hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars to rebroadcast that. It's a whole machine. The Budweisers, the Miller Lights, all the other companies spend millions of dollars in advertising to advertise in those stadiums, on those programs, in that programming. So until the NFL can be assured that revenue stream can be made up by the online world, I don't think it's going to happen. Now, here's the next thing, and it's going to, but it's going to take a number of years. Another thing that's going to happen is that the quality that people like, you look what they're doing with some of the HD stuff on all sports now. it's pretty remarkable the coverage quality that you're getting. You know, it's no sense makes no sense go to the stadium anymore. You get a better ball game, you know, watching right there on the TV, and even if you're at the 50-yard line. Of course, I think it's always been that way, but the it's just purely financial now. The reason why they haven't made this jump, but you know those millions and millions of dollars of rebroadcast rights is a very substantial revenue stream for the league. So I don't know the NFL ticket and when you pay for all the stuff, which $150 on your cable provider, that's another cash cow. So I think you just got to follow the money.
Yeah, but if you can offer that same thing in an application, the NFL Sunday ticket, and then cut out the middleman, wouldn't they make more money?
Well, they might be able to make it up in commercials that they negotiate themselves. But I think now they don't have to worry about it. They know that they get a guaranteed revenue stream based upon a 5-year or 2-year or 3-year contract that they sign for ESPN or Fox or whoever they sign the money, you know, whoever makes that deal. I don't even know what channels the football is on. I don't watch football. So, but I think it's about cash. I don't know, Rob, where's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's going to continue to be a combination of all these things. I mean, if you look at, you know, I don't know, a good example is, you know, sports on the Xbox. I mean, there's more and more live streaming of games going through the Xbox and kind of as like a premium offering. So I think it's going to be a combination. I think that the big sports teams or the big sports kind of you know, the NFL, NBA is still going to use broadcasts to a certain extent. I just think maybe they're going to do it less and less, depending on how much money comes out of that. And I think it's going to shift more to the online side gradually as the revenue streams, just like what you were saying, Todd, as the revenue streams pick up on the digital side, on the streaming side, then that shift will follow that revenue stream shift. But I think for the foreseeable future, it's just going to be a blend of all these things. I mean, a certain percentage of the content is going to be available in apps. It's going to be available in, you know, the console boxes. It's going to be available off their websites. But it's going to continue to be, well, yeah. And if you look at the NBA, I think is a good example. More and more content is going off of the NBA channel. So you're seeing this kind of, you know, each of these leagues want to control the distribution of their games and the revenue from it more and more, you know. But just like we say, Todd, as long as these big networks pay them, you know, $3 billion for rights for 5 years, they're going to take that money and run because that's like guaranteed revenue.
I've got one more article. We got 5 minutes left. Here's the crux. In Europe, the mobile providers are over there telling Apple and Google, hey, pay up. You're costing us money because you're driving so much traffic into our mobile networks. We need to build our networks out more, so you need to pay us. Okay, so we'll use that as a context for this next article. We know, I'm sure, what Google and Apple have told those UK companies. Of course, the way they are over there in France, I'm sure at some point probably those socialists will require require them to pay a tollway. But Comcast has pretty much nixed metered pricing. But let's talk about what Time Warner has recently said. Earlier this week, Comcast Corp President Neil Smith stated pretty emphatically they had no plans to institute usage-based broadband pricing. But Time Warner Cable CEO Lando Hobbs seemed to send a distinctly different signal in an appearance on Friday's CNBC Squawk Box. And this is what he said. Consumption-based billing is what you're talking about. I think most products in America, it's actually good for consumers and good for business. If people use more for a product, and typically they pay more. And most products that we're familiar with work that way. Ultimately, I think that could be the way it goes. We don't necessarily know, though. We're going to watch how the market moves. But I think that you heard the FCC chairman just come out and say he was supportive of consumption-based billing. But we're going to watch it very closely and see where it goes. So does that mean we're full stream ahead on usage-based pricing when it comes to our internet service providers here at the house? As people continue to cut the cord and revenue streams drop from cable subscriptions, are the cable companies going to be more inclined to say, hey, you use more, you pay more, and then all of a sudden we're going to be paying on a per gig basis every month for our internet?
Yeah, that's. I could see that happening at some point.
Do you think?
I think that cable companies will have to make a new model, a new idea out of what they're doing. It's like with Hulu. If you watch a TV show, let's say you're watching ABC, I don't know, Detroit 187. That's one of the shows that are out there right now. You watch the ABC on Hulu. What happens is you see the video, but on the bottom left hand corner, I think it is, you see your local ABC affiliate in there. I have a feeling that the cable companies will have to figure out a way to make it similar to that, where they're collecting the information, they're rebroadcasting the information, they're putting their marketing data, their plans, and yeah, some of their advertising into what is being pushed out movie wise, TV wise, so on and so forth, for that to actually become a shared profitable experience so they can cover their costs, so they can move on, and we don't have to worry about this issue every 2 months.
Well, I think what you look at what they've done with the mobile space. I use a Sprint e-video card heavily. I've got a business account with them. I used 8 gigs last month. I went over my limit by 3 gigs. Luckily, I have a business account, so I didn't get whacked for a separate charge. But I don't know. I can't do that very many months in a row and not get hammered by them or asked to go away. So if the mobile folks are tightening down, I don't know. I think Americans will just revolt if they do it. Now I know that Comcast already has caps. They have their 500 gig cap, and people seem to have learned to deal with it over there. But Time Warner has not done that yet. Of course, I'm still on a old DOCSIS 2.0 system here in Hawaii, and they're saying upgrades are coming next year. So I'll keep my fingers crossed. But I don't know. If they start charging by the gig, or you're allowed so much and you go over and you pay, my cable bill is going to get awful expensive. I have no choice but to cut the cord just to keep the internet on from a budget perspective. But I sure hope it doesn't go that way. I'll pay more for faster service, gladly, but just don't cap me. You want to raise my internet bill, and I get you double my speed. I would almost pay double for double my speed, but don't keep my same speed and not increase my bill. Well, guys, did you guys find anything cool this week that you wanted to talk about real quick before we bounce out?
Nothing here.
Okay.
I can't think of
Oh, good.
anything that we haven't already covered.
Well, thanks for spending some time with me. Next Saturday is the 24-hour show. Rob, you and I will be here alone. And then, Jeffrey, I'm going to have you scheduled with Andy to come on, and we're going to talk about Vegas. So you both will be on different hours next week. But I have to do a quick trip out to Carlsbad, California I'll actually fly out tomorrow night, and I'll be back Thursday, and then spend Friday getting the studio ready for Saturday's event. But got to get that schedule done. I'm a little short on people, I think, this year, so I got to put the word out for people to apply and to be on the show. We'll always have a bunch of stragglers come in at the last minute, typical stuff. But we got a new sponsor announcement coming probably Monday or Tuesday, Rob, for CES. We picked up another sponsor, which we're happy about. And you still got to tell the folks over at Microsoft we still got room for them if they want to come on board and have a rounding error on their budget for CES. We'll be happy to take their rounding error. Of course, today's world, that rounding error is probably a penny. So
yeah, we'll take their Super Bowl ad.
Oh yeah. Well, we might reach as many people. That's for sure. Do you know if you're going to come out, Rob?
We're all penny pinchers now, so it's not like it used to be where Microsoft was the biggest tech company in the world. We're not the biggest anymore. So we're going to be like Hertz now. We just try harder.
Oh, that's a good one. I like that. Well, I've got another meeting with the gang for CES in 28 minutes, so we're going to bounce out of here. And everyone that's been on Ustream, thanks for hanging with us, guys. And oh no, we're not saying that, Nevin. That's another show's slogan. And so good morning to you. Thanks for hanging out with us. It's been fun. Rob and Jeff, of course, you can check Jeff out at geekazine.com.
That's correct.
And Rob, you're over at Zune. So you've got your webpage back up. What's the name? What's your website again?
Well, I've got a bunch of old shows that I did back when I was doing Web Talk Radio at webtalkradio.com. So I'm trying to build that presence back up again. And I also have a bunch of stuff at robgreenlee.com. So,
Cool.
I've recently posted some articles up there about, like the top 5 tips to make a successful podcast, that kind of stuff.
You guys are gonna laugh. My wife is telling me you live in Hawaii. You need to start wearing Hawaiian shirts for your show. So what I did is I went down to a local store and I bought every cheap, gaudy Hawaiian shirt I'm not kidding you. They were like $11 a piece. They came off the rack. So I'll be wearing some pretty gaudy, and on purpose, some very gaudy Hawaiian shirts. This one isn't too bad, but not bad for $11. But I got some other ones that'll hurt your eyes in the future. So,
Todd, it looks very Hawaiian. I'm very impressed.
Yeah, well, she's working on my image. She's also got me on a diet of all things. So she says I'm getting too fat. I actually took a picture. We did our Christmas picture, and I said something's wrong with the camera. Did someone blow me up? And I'm looking at that, I'm like, that doesn't look right. And I go look in the mirror. I'm like, am I having distortion reality? I'm looking, and I swear the camera made me 25 pounds heavier. Not that I am 25 pounds heavier, but anyway, it's funny. All right, beautiful Hawaiian morning here. I'm sitting here in shorts, as you can see, and it's not raining, which is nice for the first time in 3 days. But everyone that's been watching, you can find this show and others at geeknewscentral.com. We're live Mondays and Thursdays at 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is 9 p.m. here in Honolulu. Actually, 8 p.m. here in Honolulu. So we'll see you guys next week on the 24-hour podcast. And again, thanks, guys. Thanks for coming. Aloha.
All right. Thanks.